Mr. Ashley Tarver, come on in and tell us what's going on.
Let me inspire you a little bit. Let me take you back a moment. Join me on a journey where we talk about what the heck we really want AI to do for us. Don't get me wrong, we need GPUs, we need infrastructure, we need power, we need data centers, but we're going to take a moment just to take a step back and figure out, why are we doing this? What's the point of it all? What does it even matter? Because I have a topic today that's really relevant as it relates to the paradox that we have between AI and humans. The paradox is very simple, is AI is learning from us right now what the future should look like. So it's up to the humans, us, to tell the AI what we want them to help us accomplish in our life. Do we want them to help us with famine? Do we want diversity? Do we want no wars, no genocide? Do we want everybody to live a fruitful life? What is the purpose of AI? Well, the promise has come to us that the reason we're doing this is that AI seems to be one of those transformational technologies that's going to accelerate humans into the next level of our lives. And so for you, picture a time 100 years from now, 200 years from now, even 1,000 years from now. What will AI be doing for us? And the question remains, we have a problem right now because we're setting the stage for that future vision that you just put into your head about what the future will look like. We've seen plenty of movies, Star Trek, you name it, that will give us an indication of what's possible. But the problem is, until you've lived and experienced a particular lifestyle, it's really hard to explain it to somebody else. And that's the challenge we have with the paradox today, is there's nobody that would agree on what a perfect future looks like. Depending on where you're from personally, what country you're from, your background, we all have a different vision of what that future looks like. And worse than that is we've never experienced it. So we have a huge challenge to train. Basically, we're the teacher, and we're trying to update our trainee, which is the AI. And if we fail at giving them the proper instructions, there'll be a point in time in the future, and you dictated it in your mind already, that when the AI will no longer be the student, but it becomes the teacher. And the expectation at some point is AI will help humans derive the ideal future that we want and help us get there on a path. But if we haven't experienced it, how can we tell it what to do? And that's the paradox we have right now. How do we help each other work together to educate the AI to help us in the future a long ways from now? And it really boils down to the way we as humans think about the future, how we think about our needs, our expectations, our own egos, our jealousies, our expectations. And this has historically been a conflict we've had with every major technology trend that you can think of. Go back to the steam engine, arguably the most transformational technology of the industrial era. It helped society elevate its quality of living all over the world as a result of the steam engine, but it also brought some negative consequences. Pollution, labor laws, labor issues, exploitation of child labor laws, things like this. Pros, cons. Nuclear energy, another great example of a future wish, unlimited power resource to run our future, but the consequences were equally as crazy. In this case, the potential of actually having a worldwide apocalypse, nuclear war that could bring everything down. So the bet is we're going to bet on a technology, but at the same time, that technology has issues. The internet, obviously, in our lifetime is another example. With the help of the internet and the cell phone, we've been able to raise the quality of life of every third world nation out there almost overnight, instantaneously. But with that came cyber crimes, ransomware, nation state espionage. So we're looking at AI now in the same vein. All the positive consequences are obvious because you're thinking about them right now in your brain. What do you want it to be? But the negative sides are massively confusing. Obviously, AI has the opportunity to accelerate us into the positive future, but the bad guys also use AI to accelerate their wish lists, right? So you have this common tug. It's basically a tug of war in this paradox on what we think the technology will do for us and what it's actually delivering. So with that in mind, how do we change the roadway, the future that you're creating in your head right now? How do we set ourselves up for success? It's a very complex issue. You can't cover it in 15 minutes, but we can talk about it a little bit, and there are some things we can do right now to help. Ideally, the first thing to do is we have to figure out how to control our human emotions, our greed, our anger, our quality of life requirements, because right now, depending on what part of the country you live in or what part of the world, there always seems to be a tug of war about who's better than the other and how do we accelerate our success, possibly at the detriment of somebody else. And that's just not the way we need to think long term. Ultimately, we have to come together as a society to really educate the AI on what the future should look like. So in that model, we have to take a lot of things in consideration. One of the most obvious things that we have seen, going back to history again, is that whenever there's a divide in cultures, whenever there's a argument or complaints or a disagreement on what the future should look like and who other people are, it usually starts off with the barrier. The barrier is typically the language. So if you look at the history of our human society, the people that you don't know, different race, a different color, a different part of the world, speaking a different language, our human instinct is to immediately push back, to try to put ourselves in a safe space until we can get to know that person and begin to trust them. The very first thing that happens, besides the way you look, is the way you talk. So what if you have two different tribes from 1,000 years ago, as soon as they could figure out how to bridge the gap in their language between the two tribes, that was the path toward creating a more unified vision of the future for each other. And I'm going to show you, and you probably will agree to some point here, that's exactly what we're dealing with right now with AI. If you think about it, AI has been around a long time, but it's been in our M2M, machine-to-machine conversations. And when you have machines talking to other machines, an example would be like an autonomous factory where you have robots that are helping the flow of the widget comes in on one side and it goes out the other, and all the robots are communicating with each other. It works fantastic because there's no emotion, there's no egos, there's none of the hysteria associated with the human personality. Personalities are the ones, they just don't exist in the world of a robot or AI. And so, and that's number one. Number two is they talk to each other in the same language. They have a binary language, a bunch of zeros and ones, and at the end of the day, unless you were Neo in the movie The Matrix, you don't really know how to read binary. We are alphabetic. And so here we are with this huge collision of communication where one element is talking in binary and another one is alphabetic, and we're trying to figure out how to merge that. So you're seeing that. That's happened in the last 2 years, if you think about it, with the evolution of the language models, ChatGPT being one of the first ones to come out that really kind of broke the ice. Suddenly, it gave an opportunity for us as humans to communicate to the AI in a language that we know, our own alphabetic, verbal conversation, typing, and then it translates obviously into binary so that the AI can act upon the request and give you an answer back. And this is the beginning of trying to bridge this gap between our two cultures. So we have this paradox we're trying to solve. And I'm just suggesting here today in this short presentation that starting with blending the vocabulary is the ideal scenario to get things on the right track. There's plenty of more stuff to do as well. So there are a few people in the world. How many developers do we have in the room that actually do coding? Okay. These were the first people to learn binary. They learned how to create the code that would translate our human needs into a binary language that could be acted upon by the technology it was being deployed on. And so with that in mind, we're working toward that goal here today. There's plenty of examples, where we've seen the translation of language to really help societal efforts blend in a common goal. So that's one thing that we all can take away from today's conversation is, I think most of us are here because we already know what AI is and we're working it. But educate, create this whole conversation with your peers, activate your AI, work with the tools we have today, because we have to kind of educate the entire society on how to talk to the AI, and that's happening right now while we're here today. So that's number one. Another presentation that I won't be doing today is commercialism is the next thing that we have to work on to solve this problem. Because commercialism has served us well across humanity since the very first barter took place and somebody traded an arrowhead for some food. And then from there, we created a whole currency system. And with currency, we can obviously trade goods and services by simply exchanging, a coin or a dollar. But with every positive thing, there's negative consequences. And suddenly with commercialism, there's a massive competition. I mean, in our tech world today, we're all competing right now for commercialism and superiority in the way we sell our products and who we deliver them to. So if you can look at the time frame that you set in your brain when I first started the presentation, 100, 200, or 1,000 years from now, is it possible that we could depart from commercialism into some other type of economic ecosystem that would allow us to not be so competitive? Because with a competition, it drives the emotional consequences that ultimately lead to this paradox. So somehow or another, we have to elevate ourselves above our own selves in order to create a better environment, because at the end of the day, right now, we are training the baseline of the AI that will be used into the future. And so if you're working on any projects right now, please take in consideration all aspects of ethical AI considerations. Biases, cyber crimes, all that stuff is obviously in our environment today, and it has to be handled. But at the same time, think about the future on what we can do to increase our success at communicating with our AI friends. And at the same time, keep an open mind. Do we have any Trekkies in the house who love Star Trek?
Yeah, it'll be my gift.
They somehow or another evolved to that new commercialism system where money wasn't an issue. Everybody worked for the joy of work. And they, as a union, they came together, although they still had their issues with other societies. But you can see where this could go, but it starts with a conversation today. So my goal today was literally to just take a step back from the infrastructure conversation and don't forget what's really driving all of this to begin with. So with that said, I'll be around all day long. I'm one of the hosts here today for Microsoft, so feel free. We have a workshop that we'll be doing later on and another panel, and we'd be happy to meet you in person. So thanks for your time today. Have a great day.